So, you're thinking about making a move to the Kansas City area. We absolutely love KC, but no place is perfect. Today, we're talking about 10 things you need to consider before making your move to Kansas City.
Hey, we're Kat and Melanie of the 𝗟𝗧 Group Realtors. We hear from our clients every day about the pros and cons of living in Kansas City. So let's get into the downsides of living in Kansas City and everything you need to know before pulling the trigger.
First, let's talk about, is Kansas City as friendly as everybody says? Well, I grew up here, and I can tell you, Kansas City is one of the friendliest places in the country. People wave when they pass you on the street, neighbors still help each other out, and there's a strong sense of Midwest hospitality. But at the same time, it can feel like everyone in KC already knows each other. Here's what I mean. If you meet somebody from Kansas City and check Facebook later, there's a very good chance you'll have mutual friends, sometimes dozens of them. If you don't have any mutual friends, that's actually kind of weird here. It's not just social circles. It's also businesses, schools, and networking. Kansas City operates on a who do you know basis. A lot of people have deep roots in the area, and that means it can take time to break into established social groups. That doesn't mean you won't make friends here. Just be ready for people to already have long-standing connections.
The second thing you should know before moving to Kansas City is about road construction and traffic flow. Kansas City doesn't have the worst traffic in the country, far from it, but that doesn't mean our roads are smooth sailing. If you've lived here long enough, you know that something is always under construction. Highways like I-435, I-70, and I-35 have been constantly worked on over the years, and there are always expansion projects, lane closures, and detours to deal with. Some roads that were finally finished a few years ago, yep, they're being redone again today. And let's talk about potholes. Our winter freeze-thaw cycles can be brutal on the roads, so if you've ever hit a crater-sized pothole driving through KC, you're definitely not alone. Your tires and suspension might have some complaints. The good news, compared to bigger cities, traffic is manageable. You're not sitting in gridlock for hours, but just know that road conditions and construction are a never-ending part of life here.
The third thing you should know about Kansas City is its earning tax. Kansas City has a 1% earning tax if you live or work within the Kansas City, Missouri city limits. If you live outside of KC-Mo in suburbs like Overland Park, Lee Summit, or Liberty, you won't have to pay it. But if you live and work in Kansas City, it's something to factor into your budget. Some people try to avoid it by living outside of KC-Mo while still working in Kansas, but ultimately the tax is one of the reasons why Kansas City has good public services, street maintenance, and other infrastructure. Would we rather not have that tax? Probably, but compared to states with much higher income taxes, it's not a total deal breaker for most people moving here.
The next thing that you should know is that, like many cities across the country, Kansas City has seen a rise in homelessness. Downtown and midtown areas have visible encampments, and while local organizations are working to provide resources, the issue isn't going away anytime soon. Different parts of the metro handle it differently. Some areas take a more hands-on approach with outreach programs, while others have struggled to find long-term solutions. It's not something unique to Kansas City, but it's definitely something to be aware of if you're planning to live downtown.
The fifth thing we want to talk about is Kansas City's walkability, or lack thereof. Kansas City is a driving city. If you're coming from somewhere like New York, Chicago, or San Francisco, you're probably used to walking everywhere or relying on public transportation. That's not how Kansas City works. Yes, there are walkable areas, downtown, Westport, the River Market, but for the most part, Kansas City is very spread out. The suburbs, forget it. You'll need a car just for about everything. Public transportation does exist, but it's limited. The KC streetcar is great downtown, but it doesn't extend beyond the core. There's a bus system, but it's not as reliable as in the bigger cities. Bottom line, if you don't like driving, KC might be a challenge for you.
Next up, let's talk about crime. Kansas City has struggled with crime in certain areas, and unfortunately, it sometimes makes national headlines. Some rankings even list KC among the highest violent crime cities in the United States. But here's the thing, crime in Kansas City is highly localized. Most of the crime happens in very specific areas. If you look at the suburbs like Overland Park, 𝗍𝗢𝗡, and 𝗍𝗢𝗡, they have some of the lowest crime rates in the country. If safety is a concern, research neighborhoods carefully. There are plenty of safe and quiet areas to choose from.
The seventh thing we want to talk about is the tornadoes and severe weather here really as bad as everybody says. Well, Kansas City sits in Tornado Alley, which means storms here can be intense. Every spring and summer we get thunderstorms, hail, and yes, tornado warnings. Now, direct hits by tornado in the metro are very rare, but they do happen. Even if a tornado never touches down, you'll definitely experience some strong storms. If you're not used to Midwest weather, it can be a little nerve-wracking at first.
Now let's talk about how the wages in Kansas City compare to the cost of living. Kansas City is known for being an affordable metro area, especially compared to cities like Denver, Austin, or Chicago. Housing prices are lower than the national average, and you can still find a great home under $400,000, which is rare in many other major cities. However, while the cost of living is lower, so are wages in some industries. The median household income in Kansas City, Missouri is around $60,000, which is below the national average. So which job sectors have strong pay versus not strong pay here? First up, tech and healthcare. Some of the best paying jobs in Kansas City with companies like Cerner, Garmin, and multiple hospitals offer very competitive salaries. Up next is education and public sector jobs. Pay can be lower than national averages, especially for teachers and government employees. And lastly, corporate and finance jobs. Large companies like H&R Block and Hallmark have strong presences, but salaries may not match what you'd find in bigger financial hubs. Diving into this a little deeper, how do wages compare on the Kansas side versus the Missouri side? Jobs in Kansas, particularly in Johnson County, tend to pay slightly more, but Missouri has lower property taxes, which can balance things out. Many people choose to live in Missouri and work in Kansas for this exact reason. So what's the bottom line? Kansas City is a great place to stretch your paycheck, but if you're coming from a high-paying metro, you may notice a drop in salary depending on your field. The key is knowing which industries pay well and making sure your budget aligns.
Now let's talk about what confuses most people who have never been to Kansas City before, the Kansas-Missouri confusion. One of the most surprising things for newcomers is that Kansas City is actually two different cities, Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas City, Kansas. While they share the same name and metro area, they are completely different cities with different governments, taxes, laws, and school districts. Additionally, the Kansas City metro includes all of the surrounding suburbs like Overland Park, 𝗍𝗢𝗡, and North Kansas City. The metro isn't huge, and you can get from one city to another typically within 30 minutes or less. But this can lead to a lot of confusion, especially if you're new to the area. Some examples are there's different property taxes in schools. Kansas has Johnson County, higher property taxes, but some of the best ranked schools in the country, like Blue Valley and 𝗍𝗢𝗡. While Jackson County in Missouri has lower property taxes, but 𝗍𝗢𝗻𝗄 public schools can be hit or miss. Many families opt for private or charter schools if you live in Jackson. With that being said, if you tell someone you're moving to Kansas City, expect the first question to be Kansas side or Missouri side, because to some people it really matters. There's also some wildly different laws between the two states. For example, on the Kansas side, until recently, stronger beer wasn't even legal in grocery stores. Yep, Kansas had a law that limited grocery store beer to 3.2% alcohol, and full-strength beer had to be purchased at liquor stores. But on the Missouri side, a completely different world. Missouri has some of the most relaxed liquor laws in the country. You can buy full-strength beer, wine, and liquor at grocery stores and gas stations. And bars can have open container zones. Hello, Power and Light District. Some other weird laws. Fireworks in Missouri, light them up. Kansas, it's extremely restricted, depending on the city. And when it comes to car inspections, Missouri requires vehicle inspections every couple of years. Kansas, no inspections required. You can drive just about anything that runs. and something that is a big driving factor for a lot of people in the metro when choosing which side to live on. On the Missouri side, marijuana is now legal, but it is still not legal on the Kansas side. And the final thing that can be perceived as pretty confusing is mailing and direction. If you're moving to Kansas City, you must specify Kansas or Missouri when giving someone your address. Many people have had packages delivered to the wrong state because someone assumed Kansas City meant one or the other. Like when people say it's off of 435, which can be pretty confusing because there are two I-435s making a loop around the entire city. Or when people say it's in North Kansas City, which is its own city, separate from Kansas City, Missouri. Or when people say take state line. This is a road that is literally the dividing line between Kansas and Missouri, and businesses on either side might have totally different taxes and laws.
And last up, let's talk about some things you need to know if you're going to be spending time outdoors. If you love spending time outdoors, Kansas City has plenty of parks, trails, and green spaces, but that also means bugs, allergies, and extreme seasonal shifts that can make outdoor life a little less enjoyable. First up, let's talk about allergies. Kansas City ranks among the worst cities for seasonal allergies in the United States. If you suffer from allergies, spring and fall can be brutal thanks to high pollen counts from trees, grass, and ragweed. In the spring, there's pollen from oak, maple, and birch trees that fill the air. Then in the summer, grass pollen takes over, triggering sneezing fits for allergy sufferers. And lastly, in fall, ragweed is the biggest culprit, causing misery for many residents. Some years are worse than others, but if you're sensitive to pollen, you might need to keep allergy meds on hand year-round. Another thing to consider if you love the outdoors is bugs in Kansas City. Summers in Kansas City can be humid, and with that humidity comes mosquitoes. Lots of them. If you're spending time outside in the evening, expect to get bitten unless you're using bug spray. Ticks are another concern, especially if you like hiking or live near wooded areas. Lyme disease and other tick-borne illnesses aren't as common here as in some states, but they do exist. And if you have pets, flea and tick prevention is a must.
All cities have their pros and cons, and Kansas City is no different. While it's not perfect, we absolutely love it and think it's a fantastic place to call home. Did anything on this list surprise you? Leave us a comment. And for weekly videos about living in Kansas City, be sure to subscribe.
If you're thinking about moving to Kansas City, we'd love to help. Call, text, or email us anytime, and we'll help you make a smooth transition. Thanks for watching. We're Kat and Melanie of the Louis Higdon Group, and remember, there's no place like home here in Kansas City.